Welcome back, a week after the union budget, and we're trying to understand what it means after the dust has settled down. Still with me is Adi Godrej, President of the Confederation of Indian Industry, or CII, and also Chairman of the Godrej Group. Mr. Godrej, a lot of your assumptions, and perhaps industry as well, seems to be predicated on the action that we've seen in the last 4 months rather than anything else. Aren't we betting too much on just this period to start expecting that the economy will grow, the policies will change, action will be taken and so on?
No, not necessarily. I think generally the Indian economy is well placed to grow well. It's a question of doing the right things at the right time. Unfortunately, for various political reasons, there were considerable delays. There was not much reform for about 18 months, which has started in right earnest. I think senior people in the government, both at the political end and at the economic end, have clearly stated that they want the economy revived, they want to have growth-oriented policy, and they want to have a reform orientation.
So let me put the question differently. Are we also betting too much on a cyclical upturn in the economy rather than the ability to fix fundamental problems?
No, I think the fundamentals of the Indian economy are very sound. I have no doubts about it. It is only when we do not do the right things that the Indian economy is likely to slow down. Otherwise, it will keep growing very well. Long-term expectations are very good. The demography of the country is excellent. So I expect that with the reform program started again, we'll quickly get back to an 8% growth rate and then keep growing at between 8 and 10%.
Right. So let me come now to the issue of taxation, and I'll only touch upon two issues because I think that could be representative of either a larger problem or a solution. The surcharge on the super rich, right? So the amount may not be much, many people agree. No one I've interviewed has said that they don't like it, at least publicly. Privately they may have a different opinion. And yet it seems to send a certain signal. How are you seeing it?
Well, we must understand that this surcharge on incomes above 1 crore a year is for 1 year. Yes. It has been specified.
But I mean, it's also understood that sometimes surcharges don't go away as fast as they come.
Yes, but in many cases you put a surcharge and you don't say what the period is, and then they continue. But here it is for 1 year.
Okay.
Now, higher rates of taxes have never in the long term or even in the medium term collected higher amounts of taxes in our country. We had 90% marginal rate of income tax, we had wealth tax, etc. Tax collections were very low, growth was very low. So we should not confuse rates of taxes with collection of revenue. In the long run, higher rates of taxes do not lead to high GDP growth. Reasonable lower rates of taxes always lead to better GDP growth across the world. So I feel that symbolically, to be able to help manage the fiscal deficit, it's a good move. However, in the long term, we should look to having reduced rates of taxes, both indirect taxes and direct taxes, to spur growth, to really collect more taxes. And that's how we have worked successfully in the past, and we should continue to.
So Mr. Chidambaram himself said subsequently that there should be about 15 million individuals in India who pay between 50 lakh rupees and 1 crore rupees as taxes, earn between 50 lakhs and 1 crore, right? And yet this of course was a list of 42,800. So the obvious question is, why not then focus on those 15 million which the income tax department says it already has information on, has got a special cell mining all that data and now knows who's spending what?
They are planning to do that. I'm told some notices have already been spent.
Yes.
I think there will be an emphasis on that.
Notice.
Let me also point out that once the GST comes into place, there will be very little evasion of indirect taxes. Evasion of indirect taxes leads to black money, which leads to evasion of direct taxes also. Once the GST comes, all the IT that will back it up will give the government tremendous amount of information. So I feel the base, the income tax collection base will widen dramatically then. So lot of the direct tax evasion that does take place will come down dramatically at that point of time.
Right, but you haven't said what do you feel? How did you react when you heard that? Oh,
no, I'm comfortable with such symbolic measures at certain times. But very clearly that shouldn't be long-term economic policy.
But isn't this the time when there should be more liberalization and more flattening of the tax net?
No, I think this has been accepted well when you are cutting subsidies, when you are doing other things. This has been accepted well, and even the people who are in this bracket have accepted it reasonably well, so long as it's for a short period of time.
But even for that, does it worry you that this is a sort of left-leaning principle that is driving it?
I wouldn't call this budget a left-leaning budget, and I'm not concerned. You see, if you proclaim that higher rates of taxes will help growth better, etc., that is left-leaning. This I wouldn't call left-leaning, and I think it's a very sensible way of doing things.
Right, so let me come to the other part which caused a little bit of a stir, right? So last budget we had the GARD, the General Anti-Avoidance Rules, and then you've had this whole Vodafone tax issue hanging there. This time there was a tax residency certificate, Mauritius, quickly clarified by the government saying that they are not necessarily asking for additional proof of residence and so on. But it's still a worrying factor. So my larger question is, when you look at this, you look at the tax on the super rich, albeit for a year, can we trust this government?
Yes, I think the way it has been propounded, the way it has been explained, I think one can. And I would say that perceptions are extremely important. So the GAR and retrospective amendments created a very negative perception, not just outside the country but also within the country. This time, fortunately, what created a negative perception was quickly clarified. There is one more item which has created a negative perception, and that is the power given to income tax officers to arrest, etc. We have mentioned to the finance minister, we have in fact asked the finance minister to kindly withdraw that, because that could lead to a very negative perception and could lead to harassment.
Yeah, I think the government is saying it was bailable earlier, now they want it non-bailable.
Yes, well, that it's the way it has been propounded, it will lead to pressurization, etc., and I think it is not warranted at all. So that's something that can create negative perception, which is not good for the economy at this point of time. So such things should be avoided.
If you were to look at past budgets, including within this government, what's been the one biggest failing as a theme or as a specific, and what's the biggest thing that's worked or the success?
I think the things that have always worked is the right incentives at the right places. The things that have not worked is just subsidizing things excessively, giving exceptional dole out. I am not against expenditure on things which create value, like skilling, development, agricultural progress, etc. But to just dole out doesn't work in this country. It may have worked at a certain period of time, even politically, but now I don't even think it works politically.
So the last couple of questions. If you were to now look around the globe, and you as Godrej have operations around the globe, most of CII large companies have operations around the globe, what are the 2 or 3 things that we need to be concerned about on a cross-border level or a global economy?
I think what is extremely important is that ease of doing business in India should be improved. We have never been great in terms of ease of doing business. We have ranked very low in all rankings of ease of doing business, and we have fallen further. I think it is extremely important that we improve the ease of doing business in our country. That will encourage investment, that will encourage business persons, that will encourage entrepreneurship, and that will clearly create better growth.
So would this be the turning point from your point, as in from an industry, as an industry body? Is this a turning point here for India?
It can be a turning point. It has all the makings of a turning point, but we've got to execute and implement very well. And I do hope that the government will pay a lot of attention on that.
Mr. Godrej, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Good talking to you.
Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of Bottom Line. Thanks for watching.